Music has the ability to entertain, illustrate our feelings, and shift culture. On this week's episode of the Infusion Breakdown Show, the Breakdown crew sat down with two very special guests. Returning guest, Dondre George, and new guest, Mychal Spivey, to talk everything music. Let's see what we came up with.
Each album is a soundtrack to that moment in time, and each song holds a memory and emotion. They were influential to our lives and quickly became part of our identity. Time to reflect on who you are because of them.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Infusion Breakdown Show. It's your boy Joshua Freeman. I'm also here with Brian Carey and also Mr. Desmond Tillman. And also we have returning guest Dondre and also new guest Mychal. How's everybody doing? Great. So the question we have, well, I'm gonna say the question, and then you can introduce the guests more. The question we have for today: What's the most influential album of our in the generation? Brian changed the question quite a few times in the past 5 minutes. So, but you can introduce the guests, Brian. Go on.
The past 5 minutes. So joining us today, we have a longtime friend of the channel, Dondre George, Mr. Gratitude himself. Check out his gratitude journal. And we also have new first-time guest, Mychal. So Mychal's an upcoming photographer. Be sure to check out his IG page. We'll be posting links to that as well.
And the question, of course, what is the most influential album of our in the generation? Of course, your lifetime. So, who wants to go first?
I can start us off.
Okay.
So I had to actually look up a few because I wasn't quite sure the difference between influential to me and then influential to other people, the culture, anything like that. And so I picked out a good 5 that are pretty good candidates, of course. So I figured I'll just go ahead and list out all 5, see what you guys think. Back in 2000, we got OutKast Stankonia. 2005, 2007, I'm pulling 2 of the Kanye West albums, Late Registration and Graduation. And then for more recent events, 2015 and 2017, both Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn. All of which I feel have a huge impact on our culture as it is now.
Dondre, that's a hell of a lineup.
Had to come strong, man.
But what influence did, so let me just start with Stankonia. What was the influence that had on our culture, the culture of hip hop, or as our culture as a people?
I'm hoping you guys see the same perspective. If not, let me know. But I feel like those songs, we're talking Miss Jackson, So Fresh, So Clean. We're talking songs that we were too young to really understand, but they were still in the background as we were growing up and whatnot. So a lot of those songs we know without knowing the contextual meaning, to the point where you grow up and you go through school, middle school, high school, you start singing that, people know that song. It's been ingrained in your culture without actually knowing the song or being old enough to really understand it when that song came out. Then we talk Kanye West, both of those albums, late Registration and Graduation. Those are the albums people talk about when they say Kanye was good, back in those kind of times, back when Kanye wasn't crazy kind of deal. And then Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn. Both of those albums came out at perfect times when mass shootings were prevalent, a lot of cop shootings and things of that nature. He made the albums and music videos around those kind of concepts. So they were something that we could all vibe to. And I'm talking when we hear songs All Right, that's almost a national anthem for a lot of people singing, and so on and so forth. So that's why I picked those 5.
What about you, Mychal?
I guess I have to ask a question for my opinion to be taken seriously, I suppose. At what year in your life, the year, not the age you were, but what year would you say you developed your taste of music? Where you were all right, this is the music I like, and while it may waver as I get older, this is it. There's going to be different faces to it, but this is what I like. And what I mean by I like boom bop, heavy hip hop, rap. I like soulful stuff. I listen to mostly R&B. When did you realize that?
When did I realize my affinity for a certain genre?
Yes.
Or an art. Okay.
Or just the genres that you like.
I mean, I just grew up on rap and then R&B. My dad, he would play a lot of music, Soul Child, which not necessarily one of my favorites. I mean, I know it's beautiful music, it's good music, but it's not something I like. Maybe because I just heard it played too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely always had pretty much the same taste in music, genre-wise. The older I got, I've been more experimental, so I listened to some things that might surprise people, like good workout music, for example, would be Martin Garrix. I had heard that first time at like a college party back at ODU. And I was like, yo, this really sounds nice. I could actually see myself working out to this. So Animal is my favorite song of him, of course. I would say my music taste as is has been solidified since I was around 18, 19.
What year was that?
This would have been 2013/14.
2013. I'm glad you said that because that's the exact kind of time that I would have fell into my music taste and a lot of people I know. 2013, the Migos dropped YRN, Young Rich Niggas. I know what you're saying. The Migos, hear me out. Turn on any rap radio right now. Who's going to be playing? Your first answer in your head was not Kendrick Lamar, was it?
It wasn't anybody because I don't listen to the radio anymore, Mychal.
Why not?
Because they don't play the music I want.
What music do they play? Mumble rap?
I would say so, yeah, sure.
Yeah, because you know who started mumble rap? The Migos. You know what you listen to on the rap radio every single day? Mumble rappers. When you want to talk about who, even if you don't like the shift, who changed the culture of rap from lyricism to catchy stuff, from not because they're catchy, from lyricism to like deep thought, which they still exist. You got J. Cole, you got Kendrick, you got Drake, if you consider that. I don't know. But when you think about where it came to, those were rare, right? Mm-hmm. Among the seer rappers, which that was not the case. You used to have Lupe Fiasco. You used to have, Kid Cudi used to be a pretty good lyricist. You know what I mean? Like those kind of rappers. And then the Migos came out, and now you have Lil Uzi. Now you have Young Thug. Now you have people you don't even know the name of, but you know, like you could tell by their face, by their
fill in the blank,
by their color dreads, you know what they rap like. Who did that first?
I don't disagree with you at all. And I'm not gonna say the Migos make bad music. I'm not gonna knock them.
I love that. I love that type of music. I like it. And even if I just can't find like a disagreement argument, because even people who don't like that type of music can cite that's why they don't listen to radio more or listen to things like that, because it's nothing but it's full of that. If you want to talk about a shift in culture, that's it right there.
Yeah. When I was younger and I was going to parties in college, like the Migos, they made some good party music. I'm not gonna lie about that. But now, like, are you gonna catch me listening to the Migos in my car or in my house? No. But when I was in that environment, yeah, I enjoyed it. Josh, you remember those days, don't you?
No, I don't remember.
We definitely used to go to parties together at ODU.
Oh, you talking about listening to Migos at the party?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess.
They were on at every party.
Yeah, I guess.
They're culture shifters. They shifted the culture.
What excites you about that type of rap though? Since there's not really words, is it just the feeling of the beat?
I love, and this may be like, and I already know I'm gonna get some stares for this one, but I'm gonna say it regardless. To me, it's like it's this new age's like introduction of rock and roll. Like it's rebellious. When your parents hear, they're like, "What is this garbage? Like, why are you playing this?" Like, it's like, whatever, dad, it's cool. Like, you don't understand. Like, it's that. You know what I mean? Like, when you, like, your parent, like, a parent, maybe not yours, because you may not listen to it, but a parent somewhere you know has come in to listen to, like, like Rich the Kid or someone, and their kids playing it, and their parents just there like, this is just the worst music I've ever heard. This is terrible. And the kid's just like, fuck you, dad. I don't care. This is, you know? Like, that was rock and roll.
So you like the rebellious nature?
I like it. I like that it's not like, it's like, yes, we know what we are. Like, you don't like our music and we don't care. You know what I mean? Like, we made this music for you to bop your head and do nothing else. That's how rock and roll started.
Yeah, there's definite parallels to be drawn. So you're saying that the reaction is akin to the rise of rock and roll itself as a genre,
Right.
and so that also means that it comes along with the fact that it's changing the culture that much to make the parents angry. They want to take the kids to church on Sunday because they're listening to Playboy Cardi and these other artists.
But to be honest, like I grew up with 50 Cent or like Lil Wayne, all of that too. And my parents were saying that shit was garbage too. I would listen to Kendrick, she'll say that shit is garbage too. It's just, I think it's just our music. They're just
If
like,
your parents think
garbage.
Kendrick's garbage, then I don't know what's going on.
Of course
there.
she doesn't listen. Of course she doesn't listen. She's just like, oh, come on, turn it off. Like, but I feel that's no different. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's mumble rap and maybe rebellious and the parents might come in, but I feel it's really no different from what we had before. Yeah, it's different as far as what we hear, mumble rap, but as far as the parents, I don't think it's really that much different, you know?
I mean, hip hop in general has never been a parent's favorite, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the hard parallel in that aspect. But if you think about it, if you put it in someone's mind, an old head hip hop guy, you know, like who's the guy who runs that
Sway in the morning.
DJ Funk Flex,
Oh,
the New York DJ. He's always having lyricists on there to do bars and stuff. Sure, he plays like the mumble rap and stuff on the radio, but you think he actually likes it? He very rarely. I think only Lil Yachty and Lil Baby are the only two mumble rappers that have been on there ever to do a freestyle.
Okay. For me, really, I have 4. It was kind of, I know what you guys are talking about really in the teens. Really, when you talk about when I started really to grasp the concept of music, it was really when I want to say 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying came out. And I don't really have that on my list because I really have that as an honorable mention, really. But really what I have on my list is Education of Lauryn Hill. I think that was really impactful for basically what she said in the album. But really, I think it can really be applied to today too, because for what she said, like you how you gonna win when you ain't right within, like that can apply right in relationships. And basically, she's basically saying like, how you gonna win? You can't win in a relationship if you're not right with yourself. So that the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, like you said, Kanye West's Graduation, I definitely feel that because how he incorporated different themes in the album. That album was really iconic. Also, Drake Take Care too. I think Drake Take Care was definitely an influential album. I think he really came with a lot of what Kanye came with, and I think he more related to people with all the relationships and the heartbreak and everything like that, because people listen to it would be like, oh, I mean, I can relate to that. I mean, yeah, I probably have that. So I think Drake was really good at that, really relating to people, and that's what really so influential. And then number 4, what I have at number 4 was really Eminem, the Marshall Mathers LP, because of what it did for white rappers and how influential that was.
those are all very solid choices. I'm a little bit. I wasn't expecting the Marshall Mathers LP, but that's a good point you have, because now you have like how many white rappers do we have?
I guess my challenge to that would be like how many current white rappers that are prevalent would source Eminem as one of their favorite artists.
You said how many?
You think?
Probably a lot.
After Mac Miller passed, I can't think of many.
Really?
That are prevalent.
You mean coming right now?
That are coming right now.
Okay, that makes sense because Eminem is so old. I mean, he's over 40 something years old, so that makes sense. But you think Mac Miller is that new person?
I think that now you're gonna get a lot of sources where people are saying, yeah, like Mac Miller, or I don't think I don't know if white rappers these days are going to be sourcing white rappers like they used to.
Right,
you know what I mean? Unless they want to be like, because a lot of the white rappers that I've heard are like lyricists. And not to jump back on what I think changed the generation or anything, but I feel like a couple of white rappers that I've heard now are trying to also do the mumble. Like Eminem wasn't a mumble rapper.
I mean, I haven't heard any of that particular music. I mean, I could think of a few ones, but I could think of more ones that are more lyrical, like what you were saying at first. Like as far as like lyrical white rappers, there's one who I actually like listening to. His name is Hi-Rez. Have you ever seen any of his videos? He's the one who does like freestyles based on anything. So I think he like went to McDonald's one time and freestyled his order and it went viral. He's really dope. And then I could even think back to when Slaughterhouse and Shady Records they were working together. Yellow Wolf, he could fall in that category as well. He had a few good songs. As of late, I can't really think of any ones in the past 2 or 3 years, but I would cite those.
Yeah, but the difference now really they started giving them more chances basically after that. So man, if Eminem didn't come along, you probably wouldn't give a white rapper a chance, you know.
For sure.
Dr. Dre took a chance on him, and what happened? So it'd be like, okay, maybe another white person come on could do the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
He did.
Without a doubt, Eminem influenced them.
He started the snow roll of the avalanche, which is bad because that's white like snow. But
That was clever, Mychal.
it wasn't intentional. I feel bad about it.
What about you, Des? What's the most influential album of our generation, our lifetime?
Let's see. So when this question was asked in the group chat, I didn't know it was gonna be the question for today. So a couple that I had just spit off the top of my head. I think one was the Carter 3, and then the other one was Graduation. But actually sitting back and thinking, and to answer the first question, I think that Mychal asked was, when was I conscious of my love for a certain genre or music in general? I would say 7th grade, because I'm actually someone who grew up playing musical instruments. So it was more or less like I was the kid that was trying to play like the hottest beats or anything on like my saxophone or, you know, even the cello at the time. So I definitely developed the understanding of music early. And then, of course, we had the FrostWire and LimeWire age too, so we could get just about any album we wanted, you know, from, you know, you had the, like every day when we had, you know, Chicken Noodle Soup, you had Chingy, you had, what's the other dudes? Yeah, Soldier Boy, like you had all these dances. And you think about it, everything really does go in cycles because we're seeing new dances come out now. And even, you know, one of the, I guess you could say one of the biggest pop stars, I mean, Drake, even he feels the need to have like a dance. So everything definitely goes in a cycle. But to get into my albums, I was born in September of 94. So just for the sake of 94, number one is going to be Illmatic, because there's never been a more complete rap album in the history from start to finish, no skips. And when Illmatic came out in 90, it set a for music coming out of the East. You know, a lot of people that don't think about, you know, the Biggies, and I think Jay-Z was still, you know, developing his flow at the time, or developing his name, or his, whatever you want to call him at the time. Big's biggest rival that nobody will ever acknowledge would be Nas, because he challenged Big lyrically, and he had like everything encompassed in that album itself could potentially go bar for bar with Biggie's flow.
Nas's rap should be locked in a cell. It ain't hard to tell.
And I think that's the one thing that Biggie will always have over Nas, is that he had the flow. He could say anything, but he can make anything sound good. And then he had the lyrical genius to go with it as well.
Girls used to diss me, now they write letters because they miss me.
So that will be my honorable mention, since I'm, you know, a little bit late in 94. But number one would be Blueprint by Jay-Z. That's the one album that I can listen to start to finish, no skips. Kanye, I originally said Graduation, but I'm going to take it a step forward and say My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, because you had so many different sounds encompassed in that album. And it didn't matter if you wanted to rage, or if you were in your feelings, or if you were looking for something positive in an album, you got everything encompassed in that. And then it was also one of the greatest albums to where your features came in, and every feature was fire. You know, Rick Ross, Pusha T, you know, Kid Cudi on the album as well. Like everything that they did on that album, so it was so well thought out and well planned that you can't help but acknowledge the genius of that album. My third album is going to be Carter 3, because this album, I think, came at a time to where Lil Wayne was reasserting his dominance within rap. And I say reasserting because if we think back to you know, Carter 2 and Carter 1 times, T.I. was a hot
rapper out of the South, and arguably at that time you could say that he could go, you know, bar for bar or song for song with T.I. because with Wayne, because he had numerous radio hits. But when the Carter 3 came out, it solidified Wayne as, you know, the self-proclaimed best rapper alive. And then in addition to that, it's an album today that is still timeless because, you know, there's a few songs on there that are skip worthy. Don't get me wrong, but you know, if you turn on a Millie, no matter where it's at, somebody's gonna be able to rap that song word for word. It doesn't matter. And then, you know, another one of my favorite songs on that album is Mr. Carter, because I mean, before Carter 3, you never really saw Lil Wayne and Jay-Z work together. And for them to come together and you get it like they're able to capture something special in that moment. And it was like, dang, it was there and it was gone because you never really got a chance to see it again. And then my number 4/5 would be Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon 2, because if anybody's listened to that album, it's pulled you out of some deep, dark places. And if you kind of look at what Travis Scott's, I'm not gonna say his flow, but how Travis Scott tries to add different special parts of his voice, whether it be like humming or he's capturing more the lyrical aspect of making music. That's something that Cudi, I think, did a very good job of bringing to music. And it's just something that, you know, it's hard to do. You're going to have people that try and duplicate it. And I think Travis Scott was the first one within this new era of music to do that perfectly. And then you see also it's the paying homage aspect too, because I mean, Travis Scott and Kid Cudi have collaborated numerous times, and their song, no matter what album it is, you can go back and you can hum, sing, rap that song word for word as well. So, you know, I those are my solid ones. And I think the one that did the most for me was Man on the Moon 2, because it was the perfect album for a misunderstood portion of the generation. And I think that, you know, even rappers today will say that, you know, and a lot of us today will say Kid Cudi saved our life. That album right there was the one to do it for a lot of people, because he was able to capture all those emotions and then put it out into a flawless project.
Question about the Carter 3. So you mentioned that a few songs on those were skip worthy. What songs do you skip on the Carter 3?
Good question.
That song with Robin Thicke? No, I don't even know the name of that.
Top of my head.
That song, but there's a song. Yeah, but I can't. Like,
it's about Hurricane Katrina.
Good, but
you didn't know that?
It's a good. I mean, regardless if it was for Hurricane Katrina or not, like I'm still gonna say it's because I don't think it went with the body of work. Like, it's a good song, but it doesn't fit what all the other songs had brought to the album. Like, you know, it was just a complete shift as far as sound, I guess, sound and energy. Like, maybe if it was placed better, it could have went with the album, but I feel like where it was placed. And then I also, I mean, I can listen to Phone Home, but it's not one that I can listen to every single time I listen to the album.
You have a good point too. When it comes to artists constructing their albums, one thing that makes it or breaks it for me is the ordering of the songs. It's just like transitioning between subject matter and mood. So like you go from like a really high energy song to a really low one, as opposed to having it transition. I think someone who really did this well, that's not in the rap genre, is Trey Songz. I remember Pain, Passion, Pleasure, how the album was segmented into 3 different portions. That was really well done. And that I want to say, what was the other one I had? It skips my mind. But yeah, that's a make it or break it point when it comes to album construction, is the order that it's laid out.
But what Desmond was talking about with what Kid Cudi did to him, did for him basically, what Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, M.A.A.D City kind of did the same thing to me, because Good Kid, M.A.A.D City came out in 2012, and I was graduating high school in 2012, but I didn't really get into it until about 2013, which was after high school. And everything like that. But it really kind of put my life into perspective, kind of when I was after high school and really trying to find myself. And the album kind of explained my life in a lot of ways, from like the art of peer pressure that instantly became my favorite song up there. I know as a kid, I don't know how many times you guys have been in peer pressure moments, but I've been in a lot of peer pressure moments as kids, and that just spoke to me first time I actually heard the song. And then then trying to get some ass, then going to tell your friends, basically what he said at Money Trees, and then also questioning what is real. I did that a lot in high school too. So he has a song called Real Up that does that a lot. And then to the point of not being jumped, but being nearly in that situation just because I was joking with somebody, and then all of a sudden they was almost wanted to jump me. So that album really spoke to me in that way. And I realized that I was really constantly going against the negative influences that was impacting me in society. So that I think the song on the song Good Kid, Kendrick said it best when he said, these streets are sure to release the worst out of my best. So that's really where Joshua versus Society coming from, me battling those negative influences that can impact me in society, whether it's bad habits, social media, people, just all of that. So that's what Good Kid, M.A.A.D City really did to me, and that's why I love that album, really.
I wanted to add Kendrick, but my favorite Kendrick project isn't an album. It's this is mixtape. I can't think of the name of the mixtape, but it's the black and white cover.
Section 80 or Kendrick Lamar EP?
Nah, Section 80 is they turned that into an album later, but it's overly is it overly dedicated? It has
that's black and white.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot.
Yes, bro.
Yeah, totally
like that. I think that mixtape itself did a great job. Like it showed his lyrical genius, but it showed his ability to, like, I'm someone that's really big on how you can capture emotion and then put it in a way that makes sense. And emotion doesn't have to be just love. It's everything that comes with, you know, day-to-day life. And I mean, I feel like I'm not you know, shunning Good Kid, M.A.A.D City or Untitled or Damn or To Pimp a Butterfly, but I feel like a lot of his pre-album or post-Section 80 work was like some of his best work, because it was just, everything was well curated and before its time. And the fact that he was able to carry that flow and that agenda into, you know, 3 more successful albums, it's really commendable. But for me, being, you know, that junior and senior in high school and listening to those songs, like, I remember that those songs were able to hit points that, you know, Good Kid, M.A.A.D City and To Pimp a Butterfly wasn't, because where I was at mentally when all the you know, police shootings and riots were going on in 2014, 15, and so forth, like, I understood everything, but I wasn't like obsessed with it per se. Like, I wasn't obsessed with turning the TV on and seeing another black kid get shot. So for me, I kind of like try to stay as far away from reality as I could, which with me doing that, it didn't allow me to appreciate To Pimp a Butterfly for what it was. Like, I went back and I listened to it a year after it came out, because I just taken a really, really deep and long time away from music, period, to where I wasn't listening to anything for real. But it's a well put together album. And, you know, as much as I appreciate Drake and J. Cole as well, Take Care is a really great album. 2014 Forest Hill Drives is a really great album, but influential, I wouldn't go that far, because they're great albums in their own aspect, but I don't think it's like strong a new generation of artists the way that I feel that the albums I listed were. Because, you know, pulling my list back up, I already said Kid Cudi kind of gave way to Travis Scott. Of course, Kanye is responsible for, you know, being, I'm not gonna say a great competitor to Drake, because he was a great competitor before, you know, the Drake beef and all that stuff. But Kanye kind of revamped the clips, because you remember when they split, Malice went on his own spiritual, you know, whatever you want to call it, but Pusha T went to Good Music, and everyone within Good Music were putting out quality projects, whether it was Big Sean I think Race to 5 9 was with Good Music at the time. You got Pusha T, you have Tiana Taylor. Like everyone put out good music with good music project, and then it birthed it. You know, I'm not gonna say that particular album, you know, gave birth to Drake, but it brought the, I guess, you know, the lyrical aspect that Drake originally had to the forefront. Because when before Take Care, and I mean, you can even say like within the So Far Gone aspect, like Drake used to actually rap, and Drake used to rap, like it was quality rap. And then I think kind of after even after the first album, man, So Far Gone, like he was still putting out quality rap, but it didn't touch what he used to do on the mixtape and then within the first album. And then I mean, Jay-Z is self-explanatory. I mean, even if you don't want to give him his music cred, what Jay-Z has done on the business side has influenced how this generation looks at music in itself on the business aspect of making. You hear every rapper now talking about, yeah, you know, I need my masters, I need my money. You know, you're not going to own my art. I want to own my art. And I think that's something that, you know, Jay-Z brought to the music industry, because I mean, it's almost like the Floyd Mayweather effect, where, you know, Floyd always talked about how, you know, promoters are taking tons and tons of money and then giving the fighter, you know, X amount of dollars. And I mean, the music industry wasn't no different. I think he was you know, pioneer and a maverick before you see everybody asking for it today, ask for those type of deals today.
I think Prince was more so a pioneer when it comes to asking for owning your own masters, because there was even a point in time where Nas had reached out to him for collaboration, and so Prince's response to Nas was, "Do you own your own masters?" And of course, Nas didn't own it at that time, and so that really put things into perspective. He cited that as a point where he started to realize the importance of owning your own.
He still doesn't own
Yeah,
those masters.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
Yeah, he still doesn't own them. But
I think it's.
But the idea was present in the fact that Prince was telling people that to own their masters. Jay-Z
I
and
find
Prince
it interesting that you guys keep saying that like Kanye West's most influential album is Late Registration, things like that. I think his most influential album is Yeezus. If we're talking about what affected like hip hop culture. Before him, and you can hear it on Kendrick's album, you can hear it on Travis Scott's album, you can hear it on J. Cole's album, you can hear it on any of your favorite rappers' album, you can hear it. The hard beat switches, that experimental, like weird sound stuff, all of that stemmed from that album. And he got crucified for it.
Bro, that album is actually, like, it's actually a really good album too.
He got crucified for it when it came out. You go to any album right now. I'd put my money on it. Any rapper album right now with like a crazy weird sound or a beat switch. Travis Scott's latest album, To Pimp a Butterfly, J. Cole's last album, especially J. Cole's last album, Drake's last album, and those last albums. You will hear some part that will remind you from something from Yeezus if you look back.
This is funny, though. The more you bring up Yeezus, so you have a case for that, which I can't disagree with the points that you're making in terms of like the sonic shift with the different vocals. And he started transitioning music, Kanye did, from being more lyric heavy, because he rapped a lot more on Graduation in his earlier work, and even 808 and Heartbreaks to a lesser degree. But afterwards, it was a definite sonic shift because there was more just like vocals and people yelling in the background, or there was just long stretches of time where it would just be the instruments for 4 minutes. And now you see more artists taking on a minimalist or adopting that a minimalist approach to their music. But so my answer for the most influential album of our lifetime, I'm going to take you back to September 11th, 2007. You guys know what that date is? Not just the anniversary of 9/11. What was that?
Ludacris' birthday?
Who?
Ludacris' birthday?
Nah, I didn't know that.
It's the day before my dad's birthday.
No, well, I don't know if your dad was a rap pioneer or not, but I wasn't referring to that. But this is the day that Graduation and Curtis from 50 Cent went head to head. So do you guys remember the episode of 106 in Park where they both came on that day?
Yeah.
Like the week before?
Yeah.
And this was one of the biggest moments in music history, in my opinion, hip hop history. And just the presentation, never have we seen two artists go head to head like that and make it a competition strictly based on sales. And you had Kanye, he wasn't quite the person who he is today. He was pretty he was a confident person, but he wasn't. He's a far cry from the Kanye that we know today. And then we have 50 Cent, who was at the top of his game for a long time. This is both of their third albums, and he came across like Mike Tyson on the interview when they were set them down both on the couch and had them both next to each other. Like you thought, yeah, 50 is he's a killer. Like he's gonna get this, and he was just that confident. He said that Kanye had bought Jay-Z with him, and neither one of them could compete with him. He was just that confident. And so the end results of the 106 and Park Clash of the Titans, when the end of the week's record sales came in, so Kanye had outsold 50 by I think 300,000, which was huge. And so immediately after that, we saw a huge sonic shift in terms of hip hop culture as a whole. Like it became more acceptable, and I think a lot of that came due to the fact that Kanye made more music that was relatable to people. So you think about Jesus Walks, and then you think about Can't Tell Me Nothing. He's telling people that this is what he's gonna do when he gets his money right. Whereas 50 was saying, "I get money," which is like the polar opposite of it. It's a nice compare and contrast. But it was something that was out of the grasp of us because I don't know, like even for us as adults established with careers and stuff like that, we're not throwing money and we don't relate to that lifestyle. And then as Kanye grew as an individual for more after that, like even to his modern day self, we began to relate to him less and less. But from that point, that really set the stage for Kanye as being one of the hip hop industry's greatest innovators. Because you think so, I think that was the point that he really began to be taken seriously. Like this dude he's legit. Because the next subsequent albums, every album he did, it had another shift accompanied by it. But I think it was all kicked off by Graduation. So like you were saying, well, we haven't mentioned 808 and Heartbreaks. Did anyone mention that yet, Josh? Did you? Could have swore somebody did. But so 808 and Heartbreak was more sing song, and it was really 808 heavy, of course. And then you have My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which Desmond was citing earlier. And then you have Yeezus and Ye, and does he have another album?
The Life of Pablo.
Yeah, The Life of Pablo. I forgot that one. But with each one, there was another shift. It was like a time capsule. So it was encapsulating what was at that present time, and then you saw the music catch up to it. And then Kanye would drop another album, and then you would see the music industry catch up to it again. And so it was kind of like he was being experimental, and that encouraged other people to do the same things. And I think that's the reason that Graduation is the most influential album of our time, just for the sake of that's when it established him as an industry pillar. Because I don't think the same could be said about College Dropout or Late Registration. Not saying that they aren't good albums, but Kanye wasn't on the tier that he is now. He wasn't considered or taken as seriously. He was still the producer that was rapping. He made good music, but when Graduation came out, it was serious. Because I just looked at the track listing, and I could really say that there isn't a song that I skip on Graduation when I go back and listen to it. And in terms of encapsulating art into an album, into a consolidated piece, look at the artwork, look at the cover. It was so much focus put on that. I can't think of another rapper prior to that had put that much thought, or of course he had collaborated with an artist to do that, but his cover art was so unique at that point in time, and it was
But
just like
Takashi
that level of
Murakami
thought.
is undefeated, so of course that one you can't beat that. But for that exact reason, that's why I say My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, because you kind of got what I felt was Kanye's like vision of art per se.
Now, who was the artist of that album cover? Do you know?
Nah, I don't.
I really like that style. I'm a huge fan of Picasso and the Cubist art style.
But no, I can't disagree at all with the argument for Graduation, because it is a start to finish album that is well put together, and there's definitely no skips on it. But when I think of like just the influential aspect of it and how it's paved, I'm not gonna say paved the way, but could be referenceable. I can't overlook My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, because that one is.
Brian, why did you say they Graduation outsold Curtis? Why did you say it?
It was because it was more relatable to the people. And then so when I was looking back, I remember doing a Complex interview, Joe Budden. It was a everyday struggle with Joe Budden Academics. He was saying also that there was some record label stuff involved, because so both artists' record labels fall under the umbrella of Universal. And so they had two artists on the same record label going head to head. So what was Why would you do that? Of course, it's the way that was made out was to sell records. That's what Joe Budden posited, and it makes sense. He was saying that 50 who had taken some shots at the head of Interscope, yeah, the head of Interscope Records, and he was his last name is
He
Iovine.
he took shots at him.
Yeah,
What do you mean he took shots at him?
like he was making comments and referencing them on records and stuff, not physical like gunshots.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you meant. I thought you meant because he's on Interscope. So I was like, why is he taking shots when he's on Interscope? That's why it was weird.
Yeah, the head of Interscope, he did it.
Oh,
And
okay.
so they were saying that was the record's way of humbling him, is putting him in a fight where he couldn't win because they didn't. The point that Joe Budden made was that the record never really backed him on that album. Like he had a few singles out there, like the one that stuck was "I Get Money," and before that he had a few of them that just didn't stick. Like he had AO Technology with Justin Timberlake, which was one of the strategies what people do when they put out albums, they get the hottest pop artist and collaborate with them in the rap industry. So that's why you see people collaborating with like for another notable example, like Ludacris and Justin Bieber and who are some other notable ones. But so with that one, it really didn't, like we all remember that song, but it didn't necessarily resonate like I Get Money. It didn't stand out on that album as a work of art.
That's interesting because I never heard that part about the record labels not really backing them and then them being under the really the same company, I guess, with Universal. I never really knew that. I really just took it as, 50 Cent was on his way out because he was really crossing borders at that time anyway, and Kanye West was not really new, but he came with a completely different sound, so that's why. And then 50 Cent, he was still gunshots and everything like that, but he was still now saying I get money now, and he was kind of like, okay, yeah, we got a 50, but come on, what else? So
Yeah.
I just kind of felt he was just on his way out. But that's interesting that you say that about the record labels and everything like that. Interesting.
Yeah, 50 had a hell of a run at the top. He was,
In 2005, yeah, in
yeah,
2005 it was 50 Cent. 50 Cent was dominant in 2005 the way Lil Wayne was dominant in his era. I think the thing difference was what Desmond was talking about. I don't think he really touched on really was Lil Wayne. I think before the Carter 3, I'm pretty sure he had tons of features. I remember turning on the TV and
yep.
seeing Lil Wayne features on every fucking song. And I'm just like, yo, why is this dude on every song? Like, what's going on? And then the Carter 3 drops, he sells 1 million copies in 1 week. And so you can just tell, like, yeah, that was his era. And that the way that was his era, 2005 was 50 Cent's era because he did the same thing with the Massacre. So really from 2003 to 2005, technically, but yeah.
You can really say that Lil Wayne, he changed the game in terms of the mixtape industry. So he was just pumping out just such a high volume of music. He has music that he still hasn't released, of course. Like you see people ask him, like, I saw an interview where the woman asked him, "Do you have any music that you haven't released?" And he just like looked at her like she was crazy because he records like a monster. So I saw an interview of him earlier where he was saying that other artists, they say that, oh, well, to make this record or something like this, I need to have this person on the feature. I need to have this person on the hook. I need to have this beat. Wayne just said, no, he just goes in and does it, and he just accumulates music, and it's such a high quality because he's one of the most intricate lyricists in terms of his ability to grasp certain words and link them together. I wouldn't necessarily say like one of the most meaningful artists, but his skills you can't deny. But I can't say that without him, I don't think the mixtape industry would have been as hot.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned Graduation. Is there any influential albums to you personally, Brian?
Personally,
Yeah. Is there anything that like inspired you in life?
on that album or any album
Oh,
period?
any album period.
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that. I mean, I would say Graduation. I'm trying to think of some other ones that step outside of that. I
can,
would say, go ahead.
I was gonna say I can definitely jump in here. I had on the in the background, Childish Gambino is his 2011 EP, and then basically his slew of albums from 2011 to 2013. I would say was highly influential to me growing up.
About because of the internet?
Because of the internet was like the later one, but he had an earlier EP that came out, I want to say right before Camp.
Oh, okay.
And then he started talk like the one song that I definitely highlight and I've listened to over and over again, especially growing up in like going through high school and stuff like that was Not Going Back. That one talks about like, you know, being yourself, you know, being the best you, but more importantly, it talks about the duality between being like that awkward black kid growing up. It's like you're not black enough to be considered, you know, part of your more like quote unquote like hood friends and stuff like that. But you're not white. It's like you get along with like both of those parties. So you got your black friends saying like, hey, you talk white, you do X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. And you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna go hang out with these people then. And then they come around and say, yeah, you're my favorite Oreo. And it's like, can I just be like your favorite me? Like, so that song like jumps back and forth and talks about that. And
They don't actually say you're my favorite Oreo. Please don't let them say that.
I'm being
They do.
so
I used to
serious.
have the same comments. Yeah, same stuff.
So Not Going Back was like, because I mean, we just talked about it. You grow up, you know, you hear 50 Cent, you know, gunshot, money, money. I'm like, all right, well, that's a good song, but not me. And then we talk about, you know, some other people, you know, going through like, you know, whatever that's going on in their life. This hood, like friends dying and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, well, you know, love the beat, but not me. And then you hear Not Going Back, and he's talking about being like this like black nerd, but kind of doing whatever. I mean, all through that time, his lyrics were very controversial and whatnot. He was talking, you know, referencing like Princess Diana dying and like all this other stuff, like all his 9/11 like jokes. It's just everything was back and forth. He's very controversial, and I definitely grew up thinking like, yo, this is an album that like I mess with because nobody else was talking about this area of like being a black kid that other people weren't like referencing. So that's why that was definitely most influential to me.
I like definitely can see and agree with that, because definitely was like one of the albums that like shaped my future as well. One thing that, and I feel like this criticism doesn't fall enough just because he's Childish Gambino, and like any black nerd who was alive in 2013, that was their guy, you know. But so it's like hard to criticize him. But I feel like if you look at it from like a hard critical analysis, a lot of it was a lot of like, well, it's me, I'm the victim. And you know, that's like not the kind of like attitude and culture you want to be like giving off constantly. Like it was always like, yeah, I'll never be understood, blah, 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 blah. Like, but what I like about Childish Gambino is if you look like his recent work, like because of the internet or things like that, you could see he kind of moved out of that. I was like, yeah, I know who I am. You know what I mean? Like, it's whatever. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, nice guys finish last and stuff. I'm gonna talk my shit. I'm gonna, you know, stick my chest out, be a little, you know, like flamboyant about like how I feel about my music and stuff like that. And I like when that kind of stuff happens, because I feel like a lot of times people will like take in those like lyrics, and that will become their like personality. And you know, it's like your personality can't be like Childish Gambino, nice guy finish last, like attitude. You know what I mean? Like you got to be able to like move on and do that, which isn't, you know, that's easier said than done. But it's like one of those things where I don't know what I was gonna say, but that's what I felt about it. Because I agree with like Childish Gambino, definitely 100%. Like one of the, like, come on now, the music that he puts out, the music that he makes is just so like. Not recently. The recent one was not good at all. Like.
Wait. You didn't like "Awaken My Love"?
No, that was the most recent one. That was
Oh, you're talking
most
about
recent one.
Yeah, I haven't even listened to the most recent one yet.
I don't care what anybody says. I'm sorry. You can set me on fire. I don't care. It's not good. And that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes he gets away with just putting out garbage. And people are like, it's okay, because, you know, you shaped my childhood. And it's like, not fair. He's even on Awaken My Love. Awaken My Love slaps. There are some songs on there, it's like, what is this? California? That shit is garbage. It's not good. It's not good. Don't play yourself. It's not good. It's not good.
Let's see if you say that a few years from now, just like we was talking about the whole Travis Scott and then the other.
Right? And I want to say that. I want to say like, oh, he's being experimental. Like, you know, in a couple years, like this is gonna be the norm. But some of it's just like, come on, dude. Like the opening song from this current album, where it's literally just like a 4-minute song with like
it's like straight.
noise.
Yeah.
Him just saying, we are for 4 minutes. Come on now.
Hold on.
Come on now.
Did you listen to it though?
Come on now.
Did you listen to it though? The whole thing.
Yes, I listened to it. Come on now.
A part of you was like, yeah, hold on now.
You know, this could be a cold take in the future. I love his music. He's my man. Love him. But I just don't think this one's like, I love This Is America. So good.
This is America. Don't got you slipping up.
So good. You know what I mean? That's, if he's gonna take an experimental angle, take that one. But what he's doing now, where it's just like, he's like, I'm gonna slam a bunch of tambourines together. I'm Childish Gambino. They're gonna love it. I'm gonna not post anything on the internet at all, and all my fans are just gonna be confused on who I am as a person. It's like, at some point, that's a little exhausting as a fan, because it's like, dude, I want to be your fan. Like, I want to be your fan. You know what I mean?
But you're making it really hard for me to like
You're making it really hard to be your fan when I don't know what you're doing.
Josh, to answer your question, I had a little bit of time to think about it now. And so I would say that Graduation is still the album for me in terms of having a personal drive. It really encapsulated my personality. And that's why I feel like that was the most influential album on me at the time. But I definitely had a lot of different artists influence me. Like growing up, my favorite rapper, anybody knows me when I was younger, was Ludacris. I would argue with you that Ludacris is a better rapper than Lil Wayne. And one of my homeboys, he was convinced that I was crazy because of that fact. But it was just that. So, yeah. I was saying, like, Ludacris, for me, what gravitated me towards him and his music was just the entertainment value. We spoke about this on one of our latter episodes in the first iteration of the podcast. There wasn't an artist since the 90s really to have music videos on his level that were that entertaining. Like, he had Get Back with the oversized forearms, and now you see, like, artists like Da Baby, for example, starting to bring and incorporate some of those crazier music video elements into their current acts. But at the same time, then you have Luda who would go switch it up and have a serious song like Runaway Love to talk about a real life issue.
Now little Lisa's only 9 years old. She's trying to figure out why the world is so cold.
And it resonated with people because a lot of people hadn't heard music like that before at least in a long time. And just like the quality of his music and the extent of his catalog, I would say that's another influential artist. I enjoyed it from the visuals, the content, and as a young kid, hearing the curse words, like my mom. So I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this, but so when I was growing up, my mom, she would always make me get the clean version of the album, and then it wasn't until I got older that I realized why. So I heard like Word of Mouth, for example, one of my favorite Ludacris albums, and it's just terrible. I would not want my child listening to that, and I would be so angry. I would go to the room and play the clean version, and I don't want to listen to this. But now I see why. So it was a little bit of like the rebellious factor, the entertainment, the lyricism, the span of his catalog. So I would say as an artist, Ludacris is one of the greatest artists in hip hop.
But do you think if you would have listened to the dirty version of those songs, do you think that would have affected you differently though? Or would you not would you would have been like, well, okay, yeah, we just been rapping along and not really realizing what you were saying? Because I mean, I was looking at the Candy Shop video by 50 Cent, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, he about to go get some candy at the shop with these girls. This is so cool. So I mean, would you actually understand that? I think it's different.
I would have understood. I don't think it would have had made me a different person had I heard the explicit version. I think I would have probably rapped along to it and said it and got in trouble, as most of us would have.
Yeah, okay. What's your favorite song on Graduation?
Favorite song on Graduation? Okay, I'm not going to go with the typical one and just say like Stronger because it was one of the biggest singles. I would say that out of the ones that were singles from Graduation, I would say Stronger. But my favorite one that wasn't a single was Barry Bonds. It's just the beat, and it was a feature with Lil Wayne. It was like two of the greatest rappers at that point in time. Lil Wayne, I think that was before he had put out Carter 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was before.
Yeah.
One of the most underrated songs on that album is Bittersweet Poetry. That one and Flashing Lights isn't.
Flashing Lights. Here we go.
Oh my.
I'm about to shake the room. Flashing Lights, not only greatest song on that album, greatest song Kanye's ever put out. Period.
She don't believe in shooting stars, but she believe in shoes and cars.
Period.
That's
see me outside if you want to.
Yeah, I don't. I can't disagree with that one, bro.
I like it, but I
yours is
want to have
Flashing
some more
Lights?
time to think about it. Who you asking?
Bro, I can.
Yours is Flashing
What'd you say,
Lights?
bro?
Yours is
Flashing
Flashing Lights?
Lights.
On that,
Flashing
yeah,
Lights is
on
Kanye West's best song.
yeah.
Okay.
Like as far as like his specific body of work that is solely him on like in a song, yes. Like you can factor in like one of my favorite Kanye songs is Father Stretch My Hands Part 2 or Father Stretch My Hands. But it's the Kid Cudi part of that song that makes me love it so much. It's not Kanye, but it's a Kanye song. Therefore, I like it. Like Flashing Lights is all Kanye, and it is fire because it's all Kanye.
I got you. I think mine is Homecoming. I love Homecoming.
Yeah.
Because of
Homecoming is cold,
the
too.
meaning.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you guys ever saw the video. The video is dope too.
Yeah. It was really well put together in terms of execution. The parallel he was drawing between Chicago and the woman, it wasn't corny, but it was something that me, until I actually looked into the lyrics, because I used to be like a real big lyrics buff, I would go sit there and read them and try to decipher them and listen to it. And as I was listening to it, try to convert it and see like, oh, this is what they're talking about. And then that was something that had, at that time, it had got past me. And then so once I figured out he was talking about a woman, then in comparing her to Chicago, I felt like that was one of the, like I said, one of the better executed ones. Like you said, the video, the double meaning, the beat, it wasn't like nothing was wrong with that song. It was just perfectly executed.
Yeah, the feature and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shot City.
Coming home again.
There's one song that I cannot think of the name of it. I think it's one of the very last songs on College Dropout. I think it's like very, very under. Like it's a long song, but I think it's like
It's the last call.
Yeah. He's like that's the end of it when he's explaining how he signed the deal with Rockefeller, and he spit the verse and he was like what do you say? There's something that, what is it called? There's something about pushing like it's a mayonnaise color whip. I push Miracle Whips or some shit like that.
Yeah.
I cannot think of how it goes word for word.
Mr.
But I was
Rockefeller?
like, what is it? Yeah, it's the last. Say it again.
It's Rockefeller on Graduation. That's the one where he's talking about Miracle Whips.
No, it's a
No, it's
remember the rhyme.
Call on
College Dropout.
College Dropout, because he's explaining how he got to deal with Rockefeller.
Oh, then it might be Last Call.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says mayonnaise colored bins. I push Miracle Whips.
Because that's the one where,
bro.
like, for the entire last, like, 8 or 4 minutes of the song, he's just explaining how he became a part of Rockefeller.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's underrated.
Josh, who's your favorite artist as an individual?
Right now it's Kendrick. When I was growing up, like you, I love Ludacris and the videos and the whole big bobblehead rollout video was my shit. Like,
yeah, without a doubt.
that was my shit. And that Get Back too, I love that. Yeah, growing up, Ludacris was definitely like I would say one of my favorite. Right now is Kendrick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Dondre? Because you have quite a wide variety of musical taste. I've been in the car with you. You played some things that were outside of my scope of listening, but I enjoyed them thoroughly.
I mean, if we had to say artists that I like continue to go back to, I'm definitely gonna have to keep Childish Gambino up there because I've been there through, like I said, from the beginning of what he's talking about. I mean, kind of like how Mychal was saying, it's kind of like the woe is me, I'm different kind of thing. But then throughout his growth and stuff like that, he went from that to say, yeah, but this is gonna be me, and you guys are either gonna like it or not gonna like it. And then he kept getting stronger and stronger, and now he's like, I'm gonna go try this out, and so on and so forth. So I like that growth that he has. What you say?
He's going too far. He's going.
Yeah.
Like, and now I'm gonna try this. It's like, chill. Well, back to that point. Like, you could tell, like, from LES, the song on Bonfire, to gosh, why is this song name escaping me right now? Where he's talking about the Fisker.
The Fisker is Sweatpants.
Compare those two songs. That's a completely different person.
Yeah, but I mean, how much growth happens in 2 years from 2011 to 2013? That's what I'm saying.
When you get that money, you know what I'm saying?
out here talking about cars that nobody heard of unless you a car buff. So I mean, I'm saying like he's a artist that I've literally had to like grow with, and I'm always looking forward to whatever he drops out next, including that last album. I can't say I bumped it. I can't say I bumped it as hard as the other ones, most definitely, but I ain't gonna turn my back on it just yet.
I don't want to. I want that to be clear too. I wish I liked it. I like Algorithm, which I think some people hate. Like, if,
Actually,
like
do like
people who have told me that like they like the album, that's their song that they skip.
Algorithm?
Yeah, Algorithm.
Gotcha. The way you feel so fanatically about Childish Gambino is the same way I feel about Kevin Gates' music. And so I had actually posted a meme that I found earlier on my story on IG.
I just love it because that doesn't fit your personality at all.
Everybody says that. But I mean, if you really dissect, I'll explain why. So the reason I gravitate towards his music is because he's a person who's overcome tremendous struggle in terms of his runs in prison and his battle with his own mental health.
Learn to focus on myself. Now I got tunnel vision.
And he's seemingly come from nothing, and he has achieved his dream. He has the beautiful family. He has his wife. He has his kids. He's doing well. He's a success, and he really explores those topics in his music in a way that's more intimate with the fan, as opposed to just saying, I got this, I got that. Like, of course, there is some elements of it, but he talks about it as a complete package, like what came with it, what it took to get there. And it's just certain topics. Like he's not afraid to express how he feels about a woman in a song. And not like some rappers, they're too hard pressed to say that they won't admit like they have like real feelings. And they're extremely one dimensional, but he's a very complex artist. And I think he transfers what it is to be a human being into his music. And it also sounds good. So that's just my personal opinion and my take on it. And I consider that his music has definitely gotten me through a lot of stuff in terms of giving me the drive to persevere and illustrating how I felt at certain points in times when I was unable to do so myself. And so I think that that's a key point into why anybody gravitates towards any artist. Is sometimes the music has the ability to describe how we're feeling without us being able to do so for ourselves. And I think that's what you were getting at, Dondre, earlier, with your experience with the racial issues, being on the border where you weren't quite enough to fall over on the other side. You were like a gray sock on laundry day.
Right. And it's not like you grew up. I mean, just right. It's not like you grew up with like, I don't know, any type of connection with people like that. It wasn't like people like got together and was just like, hey, you don't fit in, neither do I. Like, we don't fit in together. Like that's not exactly like how like growing up works. To see someone who's successful but also had those same like feelings and impacts, it's definitely gonna like hit a little more than someone else talking about money and cars when you're a kid. Like, I wasn't a kid trying to like show off or anything like that. So the beats were nice, but I didn't really care for the words until you hear that type of artist and whatnot.
Desmond, you got our question? Or was that your earlier one?
No. What I was going to say was, contrary to Michael's opinion, I actually do fuck with California heavy. Favorite album is definitely Because of Internet. But my favorite song by Childish Gambino, for whatever reason, was Eat Your Vegetables. And if anybody remembers that song, that's like, he flowed the entire song. Like, I can't give you a specific bar, but if you go back and you listen to Eat Your Vegetables, that was like, because I was still struggling to get into Childish Gambino. Like, I bought Camp, I listened to it, but it didn't resonate with the person. I went back and I listened to Cul-de-sac, and it still didn't fit the script. But then I started like he dropped Eat Your Vegetables, and it was one of the guys I used to hoop with when I lived in Japan. He put me on the Eat Your Vegetable because I by that point I had given up on Gambino. Like, I was like, yeah, it's just not for me. He put me on the Eat Your Vegetables, and then he put me on the Royalty as well because I had skipped Royalty. I never listened to it. And then he put me onto that, and then of course, as I'm listening to it, because the internet drops, and that cemented it for me. Like, I think one of my most catchy songs where I always play it is was it like Feels Like Summertime?
Will Smith?
Nah. He dropped like a 2-pack EP like either a year or two ago. I know they have it on like FIFA 19, but it's
You talking about the one where he was where he put it in that movie with Rihanna, the Guava Island one?
I ain't even lie, Brian. What the song that I'm specifically talking about is like you feel like some. Yeah, that song is like I can vibe to that one.
That's definitely a good
Definitely
song.
vibe to that one.
But you don't have any questions, Des?
Nah, man, come on.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up the discussion then. You have album of the week?
Yeah, I actually got two. So I got one that is an album I definitely played a lot this week, and then I have an honorable mention because I play this album anytime I feel good in the car on a good day. And I actually got the vinyl. So
Yo, that's
number
sick.
one is Man on the Moon 2. You can either go with Mojo So Dope if you never listened to it and you want to get a good song, or you can listen to Mr. Rager. Any of them I'll listen to, even the intro with what's his name, with CeeLo. But I can play this song with no skips. And I know we talk about a lot about Kanye, so you can listen to Erase Me if you want to hear some Kanye. And then this song right here, or this album right here, is the Yellow Album by Dom Kennedy. If you needed like a good West Coast, artist to listen to, this came out after I graduated in 2012. I copped it back in 2012 when this came out. And this is a good song to ride around on a nice 70, 80 degree day with the windows down. Or that album is good album to ride to with the windows down, start to finish. You don't need to skip. I like it.
Nice.
It might not fit with anything we've talked about today, but for the breeze, the wind flowing through your hair, it's a good song to have. It's a good album to have on.
All right. So I want to thank our special guests, Dondre and Mychal. Of course, thank you. Come back, please. Love the discussion, okay? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you.
But we're going to wrap up. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.